everyone, hope you're well. I've been asked on quite a few occasions and messages via email, blah de blah, about doing a tutorial on the tattooed ombre brow. So I've been on many courses to learn how to do the perfect ombre brow. The courses have been fantastic, but over the months I've sort of like devised my way. Now, I'm not saying that is the correct way. What I'm saying is I have devised my way. So what I'm going to do on this tutorial is show you my way, and if you want, you can adapt other things in as well, thinking I'm not happy about doing that. Oh, maybe I should do that, I'll try that. So I'm not showing you I'm showing you my way, but you can adapt your own as you like. So what you'll need for your practice, okay, because I don't expect you to watch the video and go straight out there and tattoo a client's eyebrows the way I'm showing you. Practice makes perfect, as they say. So I would highly recommend Reelskin, which is the best thing you can get near as human skin, apart from pig skin, which absolutely stinks. So go on to a reputable supplier and order yourself some Reelskin. It does come in bigger pieces than this, but it is quite expensive. So what I do is I cut it in half and just use the front, and then I use the back when it's absolutely full up, okay? So Reelskin. The next thing you'll need obviously is your pigment. I use Permablend or I Love Tina Davis. Doesn't really matter for your practice pads, okay? Some cheap petroleum jelly or Vaseline. Your gloves, obviously, so you don't get pigment everywhere. You wear gloves when you're doing your client, I know, but I usually always recommend to put gloves on for practicing as well. Some high quality baby wipes. There is some cheaper ones out there, okay, but it doesn't absorb the pigment as well as a good quality one. I'm going to be using a Rook Quill handpiece. I have got a 3 Nano 0.20mm needle. Now you can use a 1 needle or you can use a 3 RL. It doesn't really matter. I usually find that with a 1 needle, it's quite invasive on the skin, and if you're practicing on somebody, you can make the skin quite sore and raw, okay? So it doesn't tend to leave, it's not very forgiving, is a 1. So I use a 3, okay? So this is a 3 Nano 0.20mm. You can use a 0.18mm. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever you're happy with. Now, when I'm doing ombre, I used to get my hand to move very quick, and I found that when I was doing it very quick, I was going outside the template. So now what I've learned is I set my machine quite high on power, but my hand is very slow. And the pixels seem to appear a lot better doing that, but again, that's my way, okay? So adapt your power pack and your hand piece to how you like it, okay? So I think that's everything that you need. Just be aware that it is a practice pad, and if you do go out of the border, the little pixelated dots are there, but when the client skin heals, the pixels usually fade away anyway. So try and get it as sort of like as good as you can, okay? I'll bring that closer. Practice, folks, okay? That's basically all I can say. Needle, you can use a 1 or a 3 RL. Your pigment, it doesn't really matter. Vaseline, hand wipes, gloves, glasses, like me, because I can't see close up. And good luck with everything, everybody, and hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much. Hi guys, welcome back. So I have drawn a template on my Reelskin with eyebrow pencil. Now I'm not going to draw it on with a normal pencil, because on Reelskin what happens is it's so good that the pencil just stays and you can't wipe it off even if you try. So I've done it with an eyebrow pencil, my template, so that when I wipe it, it's easier to wipe off and show you the build up of the ombre brow. So I always start with the tail facing me. Okay, so we're going to tattoo a lovely sharp tail to the brow, and then we're going to continue and just do some very light pixels. But with an ombre brow is the bottom half of the arch, so that's the bit nearer to your eye, is always darker than the top. But what we don't want is, we don't want to do a stripe of darkness, then a lighter, and then lighter. What we need to do is gradient the darkness into the light, okay? So I'm going to do it step by step. I'll speak, obviously, what I'm doing throughout. Hope you can see this okay. We've tried our best. We've strapped cameras and everything onto boxes and all sorts. So hopefully, if you might be able to zoom in a little bit more afterwards when you've got the video. So I've got my needle loaded. I'm going to turn on my machine. I'm going to fill my needle with my pigment, obviously. And we're going to start on the lower arch, okay, of the tail. Hope you can see that. So we're going to start here, and I'm just going to make a very light line, just caressing the skin. We're not getting it dug in or anything heavy. We're just making it lovely and light, okay? So that is the bottom of your tail. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start around about halfway, and we're going to bring that line down to meet the other, okay? So you've got a very sharp tail. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pixeling inside what I call the triangle, okay? So again, we're very carefully just caressing that skin. Now you can see how slow I work when I'm doing ombre. A lot of people go a lot quicker than me, but I like to go nice and slow, so I've got control of that curve on the bottom and the top. What I don't like to see is loads and loads of straight lines, and you can never get them blended, you can never get them sorted out to make it look like an ombre. So I'm just going to come back now, and I'm just going to slowly just fill in that tail end, okay? Remember with ombre as well, it is very light pixels built up over a number of passes. So please don't expect too much on your first pass. So now I've done up to the arch area, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this round, because we've done the tail towards ourselves, but we now need to do the body of the brow. Just see if that's in shot. It isn't. I'm just going to lower it. There we go. And now I'm going to do it towards me, okay? So we've done the tail towards ourselves. Then you turn round. Obviously, you can't turn the client round, so you need to then tilt the head and go towards yourself, towards the tail. And this is where we do a little bit more pixelating. Okay, so start 90 degrees straight up. Can you see that? Yeah. We're just going to bring that pixel very slowly. And can you see I'm doing basically like a hashtag. So I'm going from the bottom line upwards. So there's no severe lines on the bottom. And then as we're coming up to the top, we just need to pixel lightly. So can you see I'm still on a slant, but I'm going into the bit I've already done, and I'm taking it upwards towards the line. And then as we come up to this bit here, this is where we go really steady, nice and light, just caressing. So you can see the pixels And we're just stopping on the top line, nice and gently, nice and slowly, hardly touching that skin. And then coming back up again. That's lovely. And then we're going to go more towards the bulb now, okay? So we're straightening that line out. So instead of putting it on too much of a gradient slope, we're bringing it more towards ourselves. So it's nearly straight. Now remember, with an ombre brow, the top of the brow is shorter there than it is at the bottom, okay? So we make sort of like a curve. So the line at the bottom of the bulb is longer than the top. So you can get that nice slant to the beginning of your bulb, okay? So I feel now that I've done enough for my first pass. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my machine off. I'm going to take some Vaseline on my finger. I'm going to rub that in. Obviously, don't do this on a client. This is just done on the real skin. It's the only way you can wipe the pigment on real skin. Baby wipe, and just very, very carefully just wipe all that tattoo away. Lovely. Give it a good old scrub. Hope you can still see what I'm doing, folks. Okay. So that is the first pass. So what I do now is I'd put the secondary anaesthetic on and I'd go and do the other side, okay? And then I'd come back and do another pass on this side and carry on until you've built up your brow. Okay, so I'm going to turn this round again because we have to do the tail and we're going towards ourselves again, okay? A bit more pigment. So you can see your template, okay? So again, we're going to go on the bottom line, nice and gently. Let that needle work, so the slower you go, the more implants your needle will do, and you'll have better retention. And then I'm not going to do the line on the top this time because I can see it very, very, very clearly. So all I'm going to do is start whipping towards myself, nice and gently, nice and slowly, and build up that tail so it's not patchy. So now we've got the template, what we can do is we can wipe every couple of centimetres or so. So you can just, and you can do this on a client as well. Once you've got that template, you've got it. So now what we're doing is we're building up those pixels into an ombre brow without causing it to be a heavy powdered brow. And I always find with students is, when I'm training them to do ombre, is they tend not to be able to see the pigment very, very clearly after the first pass. So they tend to go a little bit heavier and heavy-handed because they want to see the pigment. The thing is with permablend is sometimes it does take a few passes for you to see the pigment, and also if you went heavy on each pass, because sometimes you can do up to 4 passes with an ombre brow, you don't want to graze the skin over and over again because we're whipping very lightly. This is causing trauma, and the serous fluid, the plasma, will start appearing and bubbling, and it's not good because it's quite damaging to the skin. That's why we build up slowly. Okay, so I can see this tail now appearing, so I'm quite happy that it's building up nicely. So I'm just going to go over that again, just nice and lightly, and getting that bottom line, not severe, but sharp. And you can see my hands speeding up a little bit now, but I'm still doing those little pixels. Doing ombre brows is quite time consuming, so I always book out at least 3 hours. It doesn't take 3 hours, but if your client's late for some reason or other, or they're a bit nervous and you have to talk with them and they fill out the forms slowly or whatever, I always book out 3 hours because you cannot rush an ombre brow. Okay, obviously this video is not going to be for 3 hours, hopefully. I'm just giving you the fundamentals of how to do it. Okay, so I'm going to move up slightly now because I'm happy with the tail. It's implanting really nice, and like I said, I don't want to make it into too much of a heavy powdered brow. So what I'm doing is I'm just very carefully and lightly going up to the arch area here and just curving it a little bit and doing little circles very lightly, hardly touching the skin at all, and just pulling it down. Always remember, when you do a new area, blend it into the old area that you've just done. Go through so much petroleum jelly and baby wipes. Okay, so now I'm happy with that area. What we need to do is turn it round because we're now coming towards ourselves. Okay, just get it in shot. That's it, lovely. So we're going to now start pixelating and blending. Can you see those pixels? I hope you can. So the softer you go, the slow hand, those pixels start appearing. So your needle is being moved with your hand, but the needle is making the little dots, basically. That's all they are, pixels. And the closer the pixels are, so if you keep going over and over and over the same spot, those pixels will then end up just being a coloured in brow, okay? So you still want to see those pixels. Can you see for my hand? Yeah. Okay, so we're just coming down there now. We don't want loads and loads of lines. We want it all to blend. So go back over what you've just done, keeping the pixels on the top noticeable, and then coming down the bottom here. You can do them a little bit closer. Always remember to keep coming towards yourself, towards the bulb end. Nice and slowly get those pixels built up. You don't want any areas that are heavier than others. So if you think, oh, I might just go over that again, just be careful that you're not going over it, causing it to be just a block of colour. Okay, so we're going to put the Vaseline on. So because I'm happy with the tail area now, basically all we're doing is we're just filling in this brow and making it look a little bit more like a brow. And we'll go over at the end just to sort of like tweak it and perfect it a little bit more. And this is why the video obviously will be shorter than the process you do in real life. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start whipping through nice and quickly. But remember, don't go outside the border. I used to obviously find that when I used to do this, I always used to go out of the outline because I was going so fast. And that's why I've slowed my hand down now to concentrate on actually where I'm going. Now remember, if you do go outside the template that you've drawn on, and they're very light pixels, these pixels will barely show when the client's skin has healed. So you can already see that we're building and building and building, but we're not actually getting a powdered brow. So I'm going to turn this round now, okay, and I'm still going to go away from myself. Just move that up a little bit. Because this is, if the client's laid down, this is obviously where they'll be laid, and I'd be sat up at this end here. Okay, so I'm just going to now softly do some more pixels from the bottom up to the top, but rounding them. And this is what I meant earlier. If you go out of the template slightly, with a few of these very, very faint pixels, don't worry too much, because when the client's skin's healed, they'll have disappeared. So we're fanning the front out, having it longer at the bottom and fanning out towards the top. And every time you do a bit, I know it's a pain having to do this all the time with the Vaseline and the white, but you will see it slowly building up. So now we're going to concentrate on getting the bottom sharper, okay? So you can either do a nice little line at the bottom there, okay? Just to neaten it all up. And again, please make sure that this line is very, very light. You're hardly touching at all, but it really does neat. It's like when you do eyeliner. You don't need to do a heavy line. You can just build it up with loads and loads of passes. A little bit more Vaseline. So you can see how light I've gone on that. It's not actually leaving a line, it's just making the bottom a little bit more neater. So start on your bottom line there. Come towards yourself. And then we can start doing the pixels again. And graduating them up towards the top. Making that tail a little bit more prominent. And this is where you get to the stage where you could actually continue and continue and continue until you end up with a powdered brow rather than an ombre. So I'm happy with the top and the bulb. I'm just going to concentrate now on the bottom of the brow and make it a little bit more defined. Move that up so you can see it. So I'm still whipping, but I'm only doing the bottom half of the brow. because I found when I was doing the bottom and I was just whipping the bottom, I was ending up with sort of quite a thick line at the bottom that I couldn't get to blend in with the other pixels. So it's basically 1/2 of a hashtag going up, but don't get it so that you're getting it in heavy. We're just basically just caressing. And because the pixels are on a slope, it makes it look more natural that that's the direction of the hair. So we can see now that because we've just concentrated on the lower half of the brow, it's becoming more of an ombre. We're getting dark at the bottom and light at the top. Nice and soft, nice and slow. That's it. Always bring it round. Don't just start willy-nilly somewhere. You've got to have it a uniformed act. A little bit more because that's where we wanted it quite dark on the tail. But we want the top of the arch and the body of the brow going towards the bulb lighter. Give that a good rub. Looks like this Reelskin's got a few freckles. What it is, it's just the splashback from the needle, because when you tattoo Reelskin or any silicone, what it does is it leaves a little bit of a residue on the needle itself, so that the needle starts getting a little bit blunt. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this round and I'm just going to tidy the bottom half up a little bit more. Okay, so just here, we're going to send it upwards to the middle, no further. Nice and steady, pittering it out. Don't want any sharp edges. And just go over that again, just to blend it in a little bit, just in case there's any areas that you've missed. Okay. Now, with ombre as well, a little tip is when you're happy with the brow and you've sat the client up and you've thought, oh, they look lovely, and they're both the same, obviously, lay the client back down and put a mask on of pigment, just rub it in and leave it on while you tidy all your workstation up and everything. And the pigment will continue sinking into the little pinpricks you've made with your needle, and the implant will be even better when you come to wipe it off to show the client at the end. So I'm just going to get that all nice and cleaned up now if I can. It's like a freckled skin with all those little dots. I'll try and get off. Okay, so when you're happy that everything's sort of like, yeah, you've got it in. Obviously this would take a lot longer than what I'm doing. I tend to then, see if it's in view, other way, there we go. So little areas where you think, oh, probably could do with a little bit of pixelate in there. Just do like little willy-nilly dots. You don't have to get them uniformed, but remember, the closer the dots are, the darker the area will be. So if you want a very, very light area, like here, do your pixels quite far apart, or your little dots quite far apart, so it gives the illusion. And if you want to go a little bit more indents, just put them closer together. What we don't want is a line of dots, so nice and willy-nilly like that. Nice word, isn't it, willy-nilly? And just fill it in where you just think, oh, I don't want to whip anymore now because she's getting sore, and all this is basically is just perfecting your art, your artwork that you've done. Let's get rid of some of those baby wipes that I'm resting on my dining room furniture here. My husband will go mad. Okay, so just with doing those few little dots there on the top, it's made it even look more effective and real lifelike ombre makeup brow that a makeup artist would do. Okay, you see that? So I'm going to turn that round now. Okay, so you can see. And sorry about all the dots, folks. I've just noticed as well that I just want to just sort of like, this is where you can start being a bit OCD-y. I just want to come a little bit more with my line at the bottom there. And just blend it in a little bit more. Ombre brow looks lovely on paper and on photos and everything, but if you don't get the gradient right, the client's just going to come back with a very, very thin brow with the darkness that you've done at the bottom and then nothing at the top or on the bulb. So it's always sort of like best to go a little bit over, but don't go over that much that obviously you've caused them to have a powdered brow. Okay, my lovelies, so if you can remember at the beginning of the video, I was on about the concealer. Okay, so I'm just going to get my my brush and I'm just going to, can you see? Ooh, don't know where that is. Anyways, a little bit of concealer on my pointed brush, and I'm just going to turn this round, okay? And I'm just going to go underneath the brow with the concealer. Now this is what I'd always do when I'm finished and just before I take the photo. Now it's not cheating, okay? It's not photoshopping or anything like that. All you're doing is making that line lovely and crisp for the client. Obviously throw your brush away because you've touched open skin, and break off the bit of concealer. It's always best to do one on the back of your hand actually rather than the block one, but this is just my practice pad. So I'm just going to put that on there just to sharpen it up again, and I'm just going to turn that back round again. That's lovely. And that is a demonstration of how to do a Lindsay Lambert ombre brow. And thank you very, very much indeed for watching. Stay safe, everybody. Any questions, just Facebook me or whatever. Okay, I'll be putting the number and everything on at the end of the video. Thanks, folks. See you later. Bye.